Wait.
All right.
On comments, because this is where I get to interact with all my fans.
I know, exactly. I was just flipping mine.
All right, we are live. Welcome back, everybody. It's been 2 weeks since a post show, and we are back with Nick from Ball State and Ethan from Syrvivor UCONN. Could not ask for a better post show cast.
Thank you.
We've missed you guys. It's been a while, but I think we should first start things off. Just a quick moment of silence for Adam Sperling and Jason Ding, since we haven't gotten to talk about them yet. Let's just give it a second. For
Rest in power, Kings.
True Kings. But this was a crazy episode. So let's get right into it and let's talk about the aftermath of the Jason vote, because that is something that is going to have a lasting effect on this game, in my opinion. So the plan was for Holly to be blindsided, and then Jason voted Sabrina, which we may never know why. Until we get him, we may get him. Hopefully, we'll get him on the post show at some point in the near future to explain that. And then Mike, I believe, did Mike still go with the plan?
Mike voted for Jason.
Mike voted for Jason. So both of them kind of varied and screwed themselves over going out back-to-back weeks. But I don't know. Do you guys have any insight on what could have happened there, like strategy, anything, or was it just a big fumble?
I think the quote of the episode was from Mike when he said, "I think I just played myself out of this game," because he 100% did.
Yeah,
he managed to piss people off. He managed to not execute the plan he wanted to, and he managed to be the fall guy for all of it. So it was not a good look. Not a good look. I don't know why he voted for Jason. It would have just made more sense for him to pile on Molly, because if Molly goes home, or Holly, excuse me, if Holly goes home, it's to his benefit. Why does he care if other people are like, "Oh, you voted for her with the rest of this majority"? So I don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think sometimes people psych themselves out, which is like weird, because I feel like in season 2 you never really saw Mike psych himself out at all, but I think that's exactly what happened here. He might have gotten his head a little bit too much.
Yeah, and I mean, I know just from being friends with Mike since we played, I think he definitely was a bit paranoid in season 2, but he never let it like get the best of him, or it never really came out the way that it did this last week. But now let's talk about what he chose to do after the fact, because he chose to deny, as he said. Should he have just come clean and be like, "Look, I was going to do this. This is what I did instead. Hopefully this helps gain some trust." But I think Ryan clocked it immediately and was like, "He's lying. I can no longer trust him at all."
It's hard to balance, because you want to tell people the truth, but then at the same time you want to be able to like control your own story that you're telling, and if those don't line up, then it's a really hard spot. And he didn't want to have to tell the story of like, "Yeah, I was trying to like flip things around and I fucked it up," because that's not a fun story to tell. But it was the truth, so he has to balance which one he wants to ride with. And either way, I think he was in trouble.
I completely agree. I think I don't know. I think that I personally might have told at least a partial truth about it. Just like, I don't know. It was a damage control situation for sure. And it didn't seem like he did much of that. So that might have been to his own fault.
Yeah. So I guess, obviously, very awkward. One of the first scenes of the episode is they're all kind of sitting there like, "Well, who did it? Who did what?" And everyone's kind of sitting there, and I'm like, I would probably get up and just leave if I was in that situation where I messed up that badly, and I have to sit there and be like, "Hey, you're still here." But I mean, I'm going through my notes of what happened. I guess let's just get into the challenge. This is one of my favorite challenges that we've done. Who knows? Maybe it comes back. And I say who knows because I genuinely don't remember if we used it again for the next couple of seasons, but maybe it'll come back in seasons after that. But what did you guys think of the challenge, and like kind of how a week-long challenge kind of affects your mindset and planning, especially when when both tribes are going to tribal council?
I think at least the second part of the challenge definitely has some bit of paranoia that sets in a little bit because you're having to strategize, not even knowing if you're even having to go to tribal yet because you're competing while you're in the period of time that you have to strategize. So it's like you're worried about trying to win this challenge at the same time of like trying not to say too much because what if you don't even have to vote someone out and you say too much and you look like an ass? It's kind of that situation a little bit.
This was like, as a viewer, so much fun. If I was playing in this, I would be out of my mind for all like 5-6 days of this challenge. As like production, we've done a similar but slightly different challenge at UCONN, and it's so much fun to watch all of these videos as they stream it and everything. It's one of the highlights of the season. Maybe not for the people who have to do the videos, but definitely for everyone else. And it was a lot of fun to watch as a viewer. And the twist for the tribal and how they both had to go and both had to like discuss and vote without knowing whether they were safe or not was like such a mind fuck. Like I've never seen that before, and it was so cool to how people had to interact with it.
Yeah, and I mean, from being behind the scenes on that, it was neck and neck the entire week. I think I don't remember who it was, but I think at one point someone had a cushion of like 2, maybe 3, and that was the biggest lead. And the fact that it came down to the final, I guess, task, what Luke was calling them, I think just made for great content. It was so exciting to watch. And I think even at the tribal, when Luke is reading through who wins which one, the fact that it'd go up 2, then the other person would win 2 and bring it back, and it came down to the last one. You saw it in all their faces, and you saw it in the videos that they made. These players are clearly very invested in this game, which is always great to see. I mean, we also saw Holly, I think, doing a vlog like this while she's in a Zoom class, being like, I cannot focus on anything. I'm waiting for this text. And they were definitely very fun to watch. I keep going on these like rants, and I don't know where I'm going with it. I'm just kind of
I think what you just said is like a perfect example of what the similarity between real Survivor and a college Survivor is. In a real Survivor, it's kind of showing what the elements do to like your mental stability. And in here, we're all full-time students trying to do school at the same time, like win this competition and compete as hard as you can. And Holly said it perfectly that like I can't focus on anything like that. I was in her shoes before. It's hard sometimes when you know there's like a lot going on in your game, but like you're also having to do and succeed like academically as well at the exact same time. It's the same exact thing in my opinion.
Yeah, we've had people tell us they like dream of Survivor, like it takes over your life entirely, and I think this challenge is a really good like showcase of that. Also, like I don't know, I hope they had fun. I bet they did. It's fun to like get to be goofy and like do something, because what other setting are you going to be asked to like do these random dances or like run to a certain place and like take a selfie as fast as you can? It's such a cool experience, and I hope retrospectively they're able to enjoy it. Maybe not so much in the moment, because this week on top of that challenge was really rough.
Yeah, I think just the aspect of having both tribes go to tribal not knowing is something that's very cool. And I don't think it's been, at least I don't think we've done it since, but I just think it's really cool. I think other, I guess, college orgs, and including ourselves, we should kind of do that more often, because you can really get a good sense of how both sides are working, especially when you're coming up on the merge, which we now know is coming next episode. So we've basically gone the entire swap with one post show. Good for us. I'm sure it was fun. I'm sure there was some great content that we're not going to end up talking about.
Again, rest in power, Kings. Adam and Jason, shout out.
I will say this about the two of them: great characters and completely almost opposite characters. Adam, super kind of almost paranoid, very into it, talking about every scenario that's going to go on, and then Jason, it's just the King Jason Ding. I mean, what can you say? Absolute legend. Who knows? I mean, Jason, I believe, was a freshman. So maybe we'll see him again. I don't know about Adam. I don't remember what class he was. I think he might have graduated by now, but you never know. Shout out, Adam, if you're watching. I don't know why I just forgot your name. Let's see. What else happened?
Oh, we stand Sabrina in this episode.
Absolutely.
She came to shine as her only mind on her tribe to then come back and be such like a fun character in this episode, especially like we're finally getting to see what she has planned for rather than just being like, I think I'm screwed and up against a wall. Like she's actually like seeking agency and trying to apply it, which is really fun.
I definitely agree. I think she very much got her footing finally this episode. She was kind of laying low, I feel like, a little bit. She was involved, but I think overall now I'm like respecting her game much more because she's definitely like in it. She knows that this is the time that she needs to start picking up her gameplay a little bit, and I'm excited to see what she has to do.
Yeah, so let's keep it on Sabrina. What's next for Sabrina now that Mike is gone? What do you think her plan should be?
I always thought that was an interesting like pairing because Mike called it out. He's just like, oh, as like I had Derek last season, like Sabrina can be my Derek. I'm like, Sabrina's never going to be your Derek. She's a very different character in how she's presenting. And she's also just going to have different connections because of how it started with 3, how it swapped, and just everything that's going on. So I always thought she would come out on top of that situation. She was always going to last longer than Mike. And she did. And I think that's good for her because I don't actually think Mike was going to be good for her game towards the end of it. So I'm glad that's sort of unburdened. I think next for her is reconnecting with previous mind and then utilizing their connections to then bring into her own, like, I don't know. She's in a really interesting position to have been alone and now be able to bring back her whole group and have potentially everyone in front of her, more so than other people who have tried lines that they have to stick to.
I agree as well. I think that she, maybe not in the moment she felt this way, but Mike going home now seems very good for her game. He took all those hits for her, even when she was involved, and I don't think anyone suspected that she was involved with him, at least very much. So I think she's in a really good position.
Yeah, and I think Old Mine still has the most people still in the game, right? Wasn't it going in before Mike got voted out? Wasn't it 4-4-5? I think Mike said that.
So.
I'm
so
not
is it 4-4-4 all the way around?
I think it is.
I think yeah.
Yeah,
that's kind of wild. Good on you guys.
Anyone's game then, though, too.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, hey, we do not interfere.
No, never.
People may think
Eli
from
was a
the
great
World
goalie.
Cup challenge. People were not happy after the World Cup challenge. That was a fair and not rigged challenge. I will say it here live. I was there. Eli was in goal. It was muddy. He did the best that he could. All right. It is not rigged at Ryan Baker. Ryan Baker was not happy.
It wasn't rigged. They're never rigged, guys.
We're putting it up.
Us nerds behind the scenes put way too much fucking time in it to ruin it by rigging these things. We care too much.
Absolutely.
Survivor equals not rigged. That's right.
Oh wow. I didn't even post that. I'm on the Survivor I'm on the Survivor account right now. I'm being hacked as we speak. But we're gonna have Mike on in a bit, so we'll talk more about New Soul, right? Yeah, we'll talk about New Soul in a bit. Let's talk about New Body quickly. And I think more importantly, the Narcs Alliance, which is a cross-tribe alliance, which will now be together in the merge. That is made up of, was it just Kevin, Holly, and Cassidy, or is there someone else that I'm missing in that as well?
That's their trio. They both... That's going to be a really big trio in this merge. Like, I think that's going to be what controls the early merge, and then is who gets flipped on as we enter the end game. Like, I see all 3 of those characters being like the heads of the snakes as we move forward, and then they're all gonna die. I think Cassidy probably has like the smallest target, so maybe she makes it the furthest out of those 3. But I think they're all gonna get like eaten like 8, 7, 6-ish, like in that spot.
Yeah. So in that little clip that we had with the 3 of them, we had the whole Kevin throwing out Carl's name. Was that the right move for him to do? Because it seemed to cause some disruption in the old Mind Tribe.
I feel like it's hard to say because we didn't really get to see the results of their vote and see what actually ended up happening. I think that he probably would have been fine if they had to reveal their vote and someone in their tribe got voted out, just because I think, I don't know, he seemed like he was in a good position. Like he seemed like he had the numbers at least.
I think Kevin's going to be protected early. I think he has enough like allies and reasons for other people to keep him around. And he also is just as we enjoy him as viewers. He's very loud and very like spotlighted in group events. So I'm sure people will want to hide behind him. Namely, like a Holly and a Cassidy will want to hide behind him, who will probably take the fall for him in some way or another. But the longer Kevin's in the game, also the better, because he's so much fun.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. King Kevin is always here. I've been notified that it's Sabrina from the Survivor account, so we're not actually being hacked. Shout out Queen Sabrina.
Shout out Sabrina.
That's basically my job, is to give shout outs to people while doing the show, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Literally am going through also notes sent from Sabrina and Paul for what I should talk about.
Icon.
All over the place right now.
That's a team right there.
Absolutely.
I don't know what I would do without the team, honestly. Let's see. We'll talk about one more thing, and then we'll have Mike come on. I should probably let him know. But I think that, I don't know how clear it was. I do think that New Body was potentially going to vote Joe, I believe is what happened. And that might just be me knowing things because I was part of the season, but I think that was where it was. Would that have been the right move for them to make? And how could that have affected the game if someone had potentially won an extra challenge here or there and it was actually that tribe going to tribal?
I wish. Actually, I don't know if you guys did do it like this. I guess we still have next episode to find out. But let me know if you did or not, if that's something that I can know. I wish it's like a Drag Race All-Star situation where like the losing queen has to like reveal her lipstick and show who she would have eliminated type of thing. Just to know, just to see what happens. Because it causes drama sometimes because they're like, sometimes you have to show the person who's still there with you that they would have been out the door. And it's a little bit yikes.
It would have been extra zesty because of the merge coming up, and then it's just like now you've got ammo to go to other people with, and he's like, "Oh, I'm mad." I don't know. I don't know what I totally think of Joe. I'm still trying to figure out what he's going to do in this. I don't know how he fits into like larger groups. I don't think outside of this particular round, if that was the situation, he's ever been in trouble. I don't think his name has been ever the one to come up, but I don't know what he's doing to like control his own destiny. I think he's just not getting his name brought up and then just sort of following along with like other things. I'm not sure what Joe's going to do. He's
vibing.
Yeah.
I think he's playing the same game that he was week 1, which was the same Joe that said no one's talking. So I think he's still in that position.
Well, with that being said, now welcome on Mr. President himself, the second returnee voted off, the 9th person voted out of season 3, Mind, Body, Soul, Mr. Mike Rizzuto.
What's up, everyone?
Look at that nose.
His nose has since been healed.
Nose is fixed. It's all good now.
Oh, I was gonna
not perfectly all good, but it's healed a little. It's
you need a
crooked somewhat.
Yeah.
I was going to make that part of your intro, Mike, where I say the only person to ever be hospitalized from a Survivor Syracuse event.
Twice.
Challenge.
I'm the only one. I'm the only
He
medevac.
is the only one. Real ones of real fans of season 2 know. They know. Mike,
Survivor legend.
First things first, let's talk about the Jason vote and what went wrong. How what was the what explain what happened, honestly.
So that week I start off the week. I have this master plan. I'm like, I talk with Madison at the start of the week. It's I have people from my old tribe who I'm suspicious of. Owen on her tribe, Holly on my tribe. I think Holly's possibly has the idol. Plus, I know she's super connected because she told me at the Greed Challenge that she knew Cassidy and Lindsay. And then during that week, Sabrina, because I formed my connection with Sabrina, she told me that Kevin was an RA and that she knows Kevin is close with Holly too. So I started to get really paranoid that Holly had this really nice structure set up within the game where if merge time came, I would simply just be a person within that structure and I wouldn't be able to really shake myself out of it and I would get stuck. So I figured, let's get Holly out now. So I go to Ryan and I'm going to try and use Ryan to get everyone else to do it. So I'm like, I can get Jason to write down Holly if you can get Cass and Lindsay and Zach. So my assumption is that Ryan, Jason, Cass and Zach Lindsay and Zach were gonna vote Holly because Cass initially said that she didn't want to vote for Holly just because they were friends and she knew the plan, I'm pretty sure, but she just didn't want to write down her name. So I was thinking, I don't know if Holly has an idol or not. And if Ryan is telling people that Holly is close to, such as Cass and Lindsay, she might find out about this and play an idol, which is a really far-fetched idea. It's really intricate. And it's like, what are the odds of that actually being the situation? And I never stepped back that week and actually was like, what is the situation? And like looked at the reality of it. So I was really nervous and I was like, an idol is going to be played. If I just vote Jason, if there's a tie there, we'll revote and it'll be fine. And if there's not, and someone writes down my name, then I vote Jason and there's another on Jason. And that's kind of what was going through my head and why I decided to write his name down. I realize now, should have just wrote down Holly's name, obviously. And I feel like it would have been a really good spot if I just wrote down her name too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So have you talked with Jason at all? Do you know why Jason wrote down Sabrina's name?
So what he had told me was that while walking to that tribal, so I had previously told him, Holly threw out your name to go this week. Let's vote her out. And he said, yeah, I'm cool with that. So I just never talked to him for the rest of the week at that point, which was a big mistake on me because when he's going to the challenge, I think Holly texts him and is like, we're voting Sabrina this week, right? And he sees that and says, yeah, and that's the last thing he saw before tribal. So when that Sabrina vote comes up, I instantly know, I don't know who did it, but I'm like, that is just not what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be 4-4. So that just, from then on, I was like, I'm done.
Oh, yeah. That, unfortunate, but I think, God, I need to like sleep.
It's very unfortunate. I think I had a really good pre-merge up until that point. I was pretty well situated. I hadn't made enemies. I was kind of in with the New Soul people. And if I just didn't even go after Holly, I could have done something. I wouldn't have been too late to make a move. It was pre-merge still. That's something I have to realize is patience, and that patience is a virtue in the game.
Yeah. So let's talk about your experience in season 3 and how that compares to season 2. How much did that experience either help or kind of hinder you in season 3?
It hindered me more than it should have. I let the idea that I was a returnee and that everyone knew I was 4th. It was impossible to lie about being 4th because the second I walked into where the returnees were before we came out as a surprise, Ryan and Molly asked, what'd you place last season? And I was like, my season didn't air yet, but there are people on production and like there's other people in the, because we have a small community and it's like people still talk. So I was like, people are going to figure out that I probably went fourth anyway. So I think it's worse to lie. So I was like, I'll just come out with it. So the entire time I was playing, I had this idea in the back of my head that people were just going to gun for me just because I did well last season. And that really wasn't the case. But that was something that did hinder me from playing last season. But I think I did have some good knowledge just in general of playing. The experience is always like more helpful than watching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you did play well, Mike. I think you did psych yourself out, which we did. Like we were talking about it before. We didn't see that in season 2, where even if you were nervous, you didn't act nervous. Like you handled yourself really well. And I also think you made the right choice by being honest about where you placed. I think that's always the right thing to do because it will come out, and you don't need that to be your very first lie in this game. But I don't know. I think it was. I don't even think it was a bad move to go for Holly. I think it was actually like a really good move in that situation. It just needed to work out.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work out, you got totally screwed.
Exactly. It was like high risk, high reward. It was the perfect move for that time. And if I got it down, it would have been so, I would have enjoyed it a lot. It would have felt satisfying, but I also had so much left in me still.
So let's say that you did succeed and you got Holly out. What would have been your next move?
My next move, it would have been really hard because I think I would have had to have been to Ryan. Say we lose the next tribal again still. Mm-hmm. I think I would have had to have been to Ryan who had the numbers, and I would have had to have gotten rid of Jason or Sabrina, most likely Jason, because I think Ryan was also trying to use Sabrina a little bit.
So compare we were kind of talking about it right before you came on, but compare your relationship with Sabrina to your relationship with Derek from season 2. How are they similar? How different? Why? What was the reason that you chose to work with so closely with these two people?
Sabrina was just like in both of the seasons, they were just in such obvious positions of being alone. Derek was in season 2, he was originally supposed to be the first vote out. And then he had trouble getting kind of back into the mix, and he was the only one who didn't know about Erica's idol when she found it. And people were saying, leave him out of it so we can just vote him out. So it's like when there's a person who has no one to turn to, it's so obvious just to like reach a hand out and help them. Sabrina was the only one on our tribe. And I remember thinking back to when I was playing, I was like, I'm doing this way too late. Like I waited too long to talk to Sabrina. I thought someone would have reached out to her first because like a week almost right before the Adam Tribal Council, I think. So it was kind of like the same motivation to get close to them, and they both happen to be from Westchester, which is funny, just small coincidence. I'm from Westchester too, so that connection's there. But they were both in those positions, and I think Sabrina, if I had a couple more weeks to play with her, I think she probably would have been my closest relationship in the game, and not necessarily a final 2, but just like someone who I would trust the most, like my number 1.
Pop off, Sabrina.
Sabrina was playing really well for the swaps position she got put into. Mm-hmm. It's always scary, but like it's also kind of a benefit to be the only one, and then there's a bigger minority rather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you chose to sit out the U Up challenge, and I believe you said it was because you had to make all these hospital visits for your damn nose. Do you think playing in the challenge could have potentially helped you, or was your fate kind of already sealed after the failure?
No, I totally think I should have played. I regret not playing because it was like it was a couple hours spans throughout like a Tuesday and a Thursday. It wasn't super time consuming. Just in the moment, I was thinking if I'm going to definitely miss those, then that can be time to lose valuable points. But I really should have like just put it into my own hands. I feel because it was so close too. And that first part of the challenge was obsolete. Didn't matter. I thought all those questions, even though I got mine right, it was a total guess. I thought those questions were so hard and so dumb. I would have never thought, even like prepared that in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, it was so important to really try and play, I feel, and I just gave it up, and it was frustrating, especially because the week before too, that challenge we would have won, I felt, because people were not good at soccer. I gotta be honest, like we had a really bad athletically inclined team, or hand-eye coordination, foot-eye coordination, not the best.
That's kind of true. That was tough to watch.
Yeah.
I was on the sidelines for that challenge, and I was just like, I was trying to like call out, help a little bit, like give a little soccer knowledge, and it was agonizing almost just having to watch. And I'm not the best at soccer, but like I played in high school, and I think Lindsay was the only other soccer player. So it's like, oh, please pull this out.
Yeah.
People don't need to know how to play sports.
Kevin on point as always.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kevin's in the chat right now. I had the full screen on.
Oh, Kevin's always in the chat.
Oh,
Kevin's always there. He's great.
He said I was an unfortunate boot. I appreciate it.
I think it was unfortunate because I think you would have been like a really fun character in another merge. But I also think it was the right boot for the other people in the game at that time. Like, I'm not mad at them. They did what was best for them.
I mean, like I tried and trick Ryan and be like, oh yeah, it wasn't it? Like it was so obvious. And I think that was another thing too. At the start of the week, I tried to play off to Holly that I did vote for her still, just to make it seem like, oh, I was the one that actually did cast a vote. But it was still kind of just obvious that I was the one who cast it. So I think I should have just stuck with the truth, and I should have been like, hey Ryan, like it was me. I tried to get a little fancy. I was a little paranoid. It didn't work. And maybe like just try and put Holly up again and be like, let's just go for it this week, or something like that. What I did do clearly did not work.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know Zach had an idol. Maybe if I talked to Zach more, we could have figured something out, because we were the two possible boots. I think there's definitely.
He was never handing you an idol that way. I don't know. It was funny. I was obviously I'm a big Madison fan. I was my name for a minute. I was texting her during the episode, and then she's like, Mike kept staring at me, even though he didn't.
Yeah, I was staring her down.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, Mike. I think you're great. I talked about it after your season 2 vote. I think you would have been a lot of fun. But again, I'm not mad at them for voting you out. You kind of deserved to go home after botching the move. Like that was the right thing.
Yeah, I deserved it. It's cool to see new players play too.
Yeah. And I'm glad they didn't fumble an opportunity like that was handed to them, because I thought you were in a great position up until that moment. So like pull the trigger. I encourage people to make gameplay. And they did. And it still was nail biting. Zach still played an idol. Like that causes more commotion. It's like, oh, who knew about that? Did anyone know about that? And like, what does that mean for another idol getting hidden? You still started it up, even if you were just an easy vote, essentially.
I'm glad.
I forget who said it. They were a Big Brother house guest. Big Meech, I think, was the one who said it. That like, if you're on your way out, just like cause the biggest mess on your way out. Like, it doesn't matter. Just like throw everything at the wall. Makes it more fun.
No reason not to at that point. It doesn't matter if they like you. They're not voting with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I wanted to cause like a real big stink, like to try and get an idol, but then with the whole way that the votes were being read, it was impossible not to, because we didn't know who was actually going to tribal until after everyone wrote down names. So I could cause a whole big stink, and then I'm not going to tribal, and it's like doesn't even matter.
That's true.
Or I encourage people to write my name down. So it was tough. I love this though.
Yeah, Mike. So tell us about how that tribal was like, having to go through an entire essentially an entire tribal council not knowing if your vote's gonna count or not, and also being able to hear kind of like what the dynamics are on the other tribe.
I love it. I like being able to, especially because the way where it was placed in the season, how it is right before merge, it's kind of like you're getting a little bit of insight into the other tribe right before you go into that new phase of the game. So it's kind of like a little bit of preparation, and how much you really listen to it is how much you can get out of it. And I think it provides an interesting kind of, I don't know, dynamic and gateway into the new part of the season.
Yeah. So
for the voting part, it's just like sucks. It's if you're on the bottom, you're just like, I don't know.
That's a full clench the entire time.
Yeah. It was that the Jason tribal, I remember my teeth were during the entire vote reading, my teeth were just like hard clenched. And then that one, like the entire tribal, my teeth were just hard clenched because it was the intensity the entire time. Because it's just, if I don't go to try, if we don't lose this challenge, I'm safe. And if we do lose this challenge, I'm probably going.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a couple fan questions, Mike, before you go. Jacob is asking what your favorite moment from your entire Survivor career is.
Oh, easily your vote out, Andrew. That was my favorite week of Survivor ever. Working with Addie in Geneva to get that what was it? It was a 10-person tribal. It was supposed to be. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be that Austin went home, I think, and I ended up playing an idol for Austin, and then we had the votes to get Andrew out. Still, it was exciting.
Yeah,
that was exciting.
That was a stupid question. We shouldn't have asked that one. But no, I mean, fair play. I mean, I fucked myself over that weekend by telling people I was the snake. That was
yeah.
Didn't make any sense, but
it would have been Sean instead. We would have written down Sean's name if you didn't do that.
Well, you got punked, so suck it. That's all I have. Madison's asking if it would have been a good move for her to play her idol for you, Mike. And this might be a bit of a biased question on your end, but I'd hear more from Nick and Ethan on this one.
Yes, I mean, obviously, I do believe it would have been a good move for me. I think in Madison's perspective at this point in the game, absolutely not. Like you're pretty much assuming numbers wise, you're going into the merge, you're going down to 11. You've been playing since 21, I think. Or you're going to 13 or something. You're going to 13 and you've been playing since 21. It's probably not going to be that long of a pre-merge. So save the idol. Absolutely. For when you're like, who knows when you're going to need it down the line. It's a whole new game at that point. You want that in your pocket. Absolutely.
Yeah. If she plays that idol for you, it saves you. But she is already like allied with you. She already has earned her points with you. You guys were going to work together. So it saves you one ally, but it ends up making multiple enemies, and people are just like, what the fuck? Why'd she do that?
Exactly.
It's a big net negative in her situation. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for her to need that because, like I said, I think the narcs are going to run the early merge, and she voted for Kevin, and I don't think he's going to handle that well. So I think she might need that idol soon.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was about to say. I think that she knew that too. So she was not going to play that on anyone but herself, and she shouldn't.
My idol. That no one else needs to know about it. No one else needs it. They're not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't tell anyone about it up to that point either. It's what you should do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time since like a Survivor idol had been a Syracuse Survivor idol had been used like that. Season 2, they're all just out in the open, except for like Austin's right at the end.
Oh man, I know the stories of that.
Well, does anyone have any last questions for Mike before he leaves?
I could answer anything. I have so much. I'm not done playing yet. I'm preparing to come back at one point.
Mike the super senior dropping in for Survivor.
Oh,
it's like
this
7.
This is a drug for me. Like, I can't stop. I hope I'm on the real show one day. Like CBS, if you're watching, please.
Hell yeah. I don't know if I have any questions, Mike. Again, like I think you've been a super fun character to watch. I think you're a genuinely like good guy too, which is always nice to root for someone who's like a nice person on top of it all. So it's been a pleasure. Again, I think people did the right thing getting rid of you. I can't be mad at them, but it would have been nice. I couldn't be mad either.
Yeah, I completely agree. When the season started, I was like, if I was in that season, I would target Mike first, but only because you're such a character and good at the game as well. I'm surprised that they didn't take a shot at you sooner, to be quite honest.
I was too. I was.
He played really well.
I was just like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. They never wanted to, which is like the weird part.
Until you gave him a reason.
Yep.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you. I mean, it's no secret that you want to play again, and you're technically running the organization now, so I'm sure we'll see you again.
I will drop this organization so fast to play with.
He just inserts himself into the merge.
He's gonna plan a whole season and then put himself in, knowing exactly what's gonna come. No one will be the wiser.
Good.
I'm exposing you now, Mike. But Mike, goodbye.
All right,
Mike.
Thank you for having me.
My God. Now you're closing it all like the weakest link.
There you
go. Oh my goodness.
All right. Some final thing to touch on before we go. Something I completely forgot about was Zach played his idol. What do we think about that? Only received 1 vote, and it didn't really seem like his name was really out there at all in the first place.
Well, I might diverge from a lot of people on this. I think it was the right thing to do. If you think your name is out there, you would much rather play an idol than go home with it. It makes a lot of sense to play it and just make sure you're there the next time. And because he didn't really like tell anyone, and because it didn't end up actually flipping anything, no one's going to be like mad at him for trying to protect himself. And then, I don't know. I don't think it loses him any points. It does lose him an idol, but it brings up an opportunity for something to be rehidden. Now people are maybe less suspicious of him because they're like, oh, he doesn't have another idol, definitely, which gives him an opportunity to find another and hide it as well. But I don't know. I don't think it hurts him at all. I think it was probably the right move for his own, just like where he thought he was in the game. I don't have an issue with it.
I definitely agree. He said it himself in the episode that he wasn't even sure if the votes were for him. He just heard his name and he didn't want to look like the idiot who had an idol in his pocket going out the door. So
it's not fun. It's a bad look.
Yeah.
So I think what we can do for the rest of the show is kind of quickly talk about what went down in the new body tribe, do my little superlative game at the end, see what's going on there, and we can wrap it up. Let's see. We had the Owen backing Carl, because at this point starting to seem like Carl maybe could be on the out. Seems like, I mean, at least according to what Owen said, he doesn't really have a lot of super close allies. I don't know. They had the call with the 2 of them, and who were the other 2 that were on that call? It
was Lydia and Madison, wasn't it?
Madison? Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that little foursome going forward?
I don't know. I think in a lot of ways for me, I see Owen and Joe sort of in like a similar light. I don't know what Owen's like. Owen seems more willing to take risks. He grabbed the idol in the greed challenge. It seems more willing to like discuss things with larger groups. But I still don't know what he's actually like doing for himself. Like he's keeping his options open, but I haven't seen him like grab anything or have like a plan that he's made. So I don't know what Owen's going to do. I think he could be like a really good like challenge threat. So people had best watch out for that. I think he's doing okay. Again, I don't know. There's other people I think who have been like stars of this pre-merge. So Owen, I don't have a ton of feelings about, but I hope that changes.
I guess I agree. Like I can't really put my finger on a time where I was like rooting for Owen, but also not like I don't think he's playing terribly.
Right. No, I think he's in a fine spot.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think there's a bunch of people who think they're in a fine spot, and some of them are going to be wrong. It's just I don't know which ones of them are wrong, and I don't think they know which ones of them are wrong either.
It'll be telling at the merge now, especially since it's 4-4-4 original tribes. Like it really could go anywhere.
Yeah, this first vote's going to be massive in redirecting what happens with this game and where alliances end up, or if we even get like alliances, or if it's just a constantly shifting thing. I think this vote at 12 is going to be huge.
Yeah, I agree.
Who do you think could potentially be on that block for that ever important vote?
I don't want it to be Madison. I have like a minor sneaking suspicion, having watched several of her allies march out the door back to back. And like I said, with her voting Kevin, I feel like he's someone who'd hold a grudge if you actually put his name down. So I don't want it to be her. She does have her idol. I do think she could do very well in challenges as well. And I think she's very like amicable. I think it was another Sabrina line, because I don't want to keep talking about Sabrina because her episode was great. But Sabrina said like, as you really want to be like desirable. That's what I'm trying to do. I think you want to be desirable. I think you want to be useful. I think you want to have people want to work with you. I think you want to have people like invested in your ideas. And I think Madison's capable of doing both of those things. I think she just has to do it all over again because she's lost so many people back to back.
I agree. I think that what I've seen work out before is like not the like woe is me game, but like I'm alone. Like I don't have anyone. Tell me what to do. Prove your loyalty to someone first, and stick with them, and go from there. And then that's when you can start kind of leading the pack a little bit if you want. But you have to like Ethan just said, you have to gain some trust with some people who maybe you haven't talked with so much in the game yet.
Yeah, I think that was another interesting component of this game, was that there was only the one swap. That we had 3 separate tribes, which automatically and like sorted tribes based on a characteristic. Like we talked about that in the episode 1, how that can be like very polarizing, where you want to work with your people more so than the other, but your people only makes up a third of the game. And now only having one swap, there's still people you've never actually been on a tribe with. There's still people you probably haven't talked too much because you've been busy doing other stuff. So it hasn't been a very mixed pre-merge like we see in some other seasons. And I think that could be of a huge benefit once again to the Narcs, because they've had this like underlying alliance across multiple things all over the place. So having that established already is a huge advantage, because I think there's other people who are just going to have to meet each other still.
All right, let's get into final segment. Let's get into our episode awards. Copyrighted, came up with it myself. Who is your pre-merge MVP?
Good one.
I almost want to say Holly, for actually like, because I thought she should have gone. Like it was definitely the right move for the other people to vote for her. So the fact that she survived, and the fact that she has like a little comeback story of like, oh, my back was against the wall, but I'm still here. And then again, I think she's going to be in a great spot. I think Holly actually played a fantastic pre-merge, with a little bit of luck. It takes a little bit of luck in this game, doesn't it?
Whoa!
All right.
Botted.
That's a choice bot.
We'll block that user. There we go.
All right.
Next.
What was the question again?
You're asking for pre-merge MVPs.
Oh, that's right. I'm not just saying this just because I like his personality. Actually, I am, but for a different reason. I'm gonna have to say Kevin, which is like a different answer. I feel like only because of what we've seen like these past couple episodes with him setting himself up for a really good like post merge during this pre-merge, and I think he's strictly done that with his personality. He didn't need anything else other than his personality, and I think that that's an excellent example because I also like to play a pretty strictly social game. So like I very much respect someone who has a really good like very social game, and you don't need to rely on winning challenges or finding advantages or whatever. So Kevin is my MVP.
He's been great. That's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can never go wrong. Can never go wrong with Kevin. Let's see. What else did I have for awards? We'll go back to the classic. Who is? We kind of answered it, but if you want to change your answer now, you can. Is there anyone who is in the most danger right now going into the merge?
I know I said I think Madison's in trouble. I don't necessarily think she's like objectively more in danger than someone else. I have like a sneaking suspicion that's the direction it'll go. But I don't think anyone has like put themselves out as like a sore thumb or like an obvious someone that needs to go. Like I don't know. Like if Carl doesn't actually have any allies and then he gets like squirrely at a merge, like I could see Carl getting votes because he is from brains but also like pretty tall, like comes off as athletic. Like there you go. See, Jacob's on the same page. I could see Carl getting himself in trouble. That wouldn't necessarily shock me.
Yeah. Nick, anything to add on top of that?
I'm thinking. I think that out of both of them, because we talked about how both Sabrina and Madison lost, Mike and have no one really else like on their side. I definitely think that Maddie would be in much more trouble just because I don't think there's any eyes on Sabrina. So I definitely could see Maddie getting some votes, possibly even getting out unless she uses her idol. But I think that she's smart enough to where she'd be able to figure that out and save herself. So it's a hard choice to pick. I guess I'll just go with Maddie, even though I think that she'd be smart enough to use her idol.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about potentially someone going into the merge who likes to stir the pot? Say someone like Lydia. Is she gonna do something to get herself voted out, or she's played a solid game so far? So is she gonna be smart enough to know when to stir that pot and when not to?
I think definitely. I think we have a lot of like savvy players who are smart enough to know when they need to act. I think at least one of them is going to get caught off guard, though. I think, like I did say it before, I was just like, I think a lot of people think they're in really good spots, and most of them are, but a few of them will be wrong. And it's a matter of recognizing who's wrong. And in some people's cases, pointing and saying, "Oh, that person's wrong because I want them to be wrong," and then finding that like punch to get them out. I think Lydia could be fine. I think Lydia could be in trouble if she just sort of like stays in her good spot, because everyone else will be like, oh, if no one's, why not just throw the rock over there? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think I have no idea actually where this merge is going to go. That's the most exciting part.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was about to say kind of a similar thing, that except for the fact that like I don't know if anyone was wrong. I just think that the lines are being redrawn in the sand is all. I think that they were right in the moment, and they might be wrong going into the rest of the game. It's just a matter of how they react to the changes.
Yeah, that's better said than what I did. But yeah, I agree in full. It's just a matter of who's able to grab onto the right number of people and the right people first.
Right.
Mm-hmm. With the NBA draft being on tonight, I'm starting to base some of these awards off NBA awards. Do you have a most improved player from someone who maybe started off shaky, maybe didn't have a lot of Survivor knowledge, but now they've kind of got their footing and they're really going to be able to make a run now that the merge is here?
I just said it earlier, Sabrina. This episode specifically seems like she got her footing in the game for the first time, even though she lost Mike. I don't even want to say lost because I think that it was a net gain for her. But I think that, I agree, Madison. I think Sabrina gets most improved.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight that one at all. I think you hit it up like right on the head. I think she's just leaped like up the leaderboard as to how she's going to end up doing. I think she can continue to play a sort of under the radar game, but is in such a good position where she can pull that off. I'm excited for Sabrina because again, I have also loved her confessionals. This episode was so much fun.
Yep, and Jacob K said it best. She's very close to being first boot, and now in a good spot to make a run. Now, with that being said, let's get to probably the final award. It's always good, always a fun one. Who right now is in the best position to win this game?
Not Zach anymore. The last time I was here in episode 1, I kept just screaming about Zach, but he had a really quiet few weeks. Not going to tribal helps with that. And I don't think playing the idol was bad, like I said, but I don't know what he's done that's been good so far. Zach has diminished for me. Not that I'm saying he can't bring it back. I think who I have in the lead right now might be Hall. No, I think Holly gets axed. Maybe Cassidy. I think one of those narcs is going to be able to like pull it off. Could be Lindsay. Lindsay would be fun too if she can spin it around.
I'm thinking about this one again. It's really hard because the first episode I was saying the same thing, but I think there's much more. There's many more people who have a much bigger resume than Zach now at this point. So it's hard to say. I think I agree. I think depending on how the beginning of Merge goes, I think we could see one or if not all of the finale being made up of members of the Narcs Alliance.
God, could you imagine all three?
Play their cards, right?
That would be a fun final tribal council.
Oh, that would be a lot of fun to watch them fight each other. But in order for the three of them to get there, it would just have to be a steamroll like no other.
I think that they've set themselves up really well, though. So I kind of agree that I think that I could see one of them winning.
What about someone like Mr. Ryan Baker, our only returnee still in the game, caught off guard a little bit by the failed Holly attempt, but it seems like now he's starting to get back into control. I believe he said the one person he trusts the most is Lindsay. How much damage could that potential duo do come merge time? Could they potentially rival the Narcs if they play their cards right?
I think Ryan could work with them because I know Lindsay and Cassidy are close, unless I'm getting like wires crossed. So I could see Ryan working with them. Ryan's like the kind of guy who goes in like 5th or 6th place. He's a returner. He is very likable. He is definitely like a player. He's involved in things. So I don't let him get to the end if I have any say in it. And I don't think anyone else wants to like bring him to the end. I think people will work with him, but no one wants Ryan Baker in their final tribal council sitting next to them. So I see him going potentially late game, but definitely not getting to the end in my vision, my crystal ball.
All right. I will stay on for one more minute, see if there's any more questions from the crowd, which at this point seems like it's mostly Madison and Jacob K. Either you guys have any questions, drop them in. If not, it's good to be back. Post-show hopefully will now be running a bit more consistently. I think now that Mike is out, he may be hosting some of it. I don't want to just say that and then make him do it, but you never know. So Madison, appreciate it. Post-show. All right. Looks like we will wrap it up, but Madison's #1 fan, Nick, thank you guys once again for coming. It's always a pleasure. Clearly, I think you guys are 2 of our most popular post-show guests. Like, we had consistently 8 viewers all night. That's solid. We take that as a good number. We take that.
That's huge for the algorithm.
Than the last post-show. So looks like the post-show is back. # stay tuned. We got another big episode coming next week. You know the date and time. Thursdays, 7 o'clock. Be there. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you guys for coming. We will see you all soon.
Thanks, Andrew.